Aloha, I'm Kellie Nakahara, and here are today's top Hawaii headlines from the editors at the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. Also, huge mahalo to Long Drugs Hawaii for sponsoring the show. Head on over to your neighborhood Long Drugs for all your shopping needs. U.S. regulators have seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank after a run on the financial institution this week. The nation's 16th largest bank failed after depositors rushed to withdraw their money on worries over the bank's balance sheet. As bank executives hurried to raise capital and find investors, trading in the bank shares was halted before the opening bell this morning. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation then moved to seize the bank. Silicon Valley Bank appeared stable this year, but on Thursday it announced plans to raise up to $1.75 billion to strengthen its capital position. That sent investors running, and the bank shares plunged 60%. According to the FDIC, the bank had $209 billion in total assets when it failed. It was the largest failure of a financial institution since Washington Mutual during the height of the financial crisis more than a decade ago. 3 white men serving time for the 2020 killing of Ahmaud Arbery are asking an appeals court to throw out their federal hate crime convictions. On March 3rd, Greg McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan all filed appeals. Bryan and Greg McMichael argue their histories of making racist comments don't prove they targeted Arbery because he was black. In February of 2020, the 25-year-old Arbery was chased by pickup trucks and fatally shot in the streets of Georgia subdivision near the city of Brunswick. Attorneys for Bryan and Greg McMichael say evidence shows they pursued Arbery thinking he was a criminal, not because of his race. Travis McMichael's appeal argues a technicality and claims prosecutors failed to prove that Arbery was chased and killed on public streets. Both McMichaels received life prison sentences in the federal case, while Bryan was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Areas of California are seeing a renewed threat of flooding as the state is pummeled by heavy rains and strong winds. The first of 2 back-to-back atmospheric rivers swept into California this morning. Known as the Pineapple Express, the weather system draws warm Pacific air from south of Hawaii. The storm arrived as many residents continue to dig out from heavy snows that recently fell in the mountainous regions of the state. Excessive rainfall will couple with melting snow and high winds to create ideal flooding conditions. A state of emergency has been declared in 34 counties. The storm will likely be followed by another atmospheric river on Monday, while forecasters suggest 2 more could strike later this month. They will follow a series of atmospheric rivers that hit California in December and January. Storms killed at least 19 people, knocked out power to 500,000 homes and businesses, and caused billions of dollars in damage. Honolulu police are investigating a second-degree attempted murder at Windward City Shopping Center in Kaneohe. Officers responded to the center at about 8 p.m. Thursday night after receiving reports of a possible shooting. According to the police report, a 46-year-old man was at the center's gas station when he was approached by a male suspect who demanded money. The victim refused, and a brief physical altercation followed. The suspect tried to flee the scene and ran to a vehicle that was waiting nearby. According to police, the victim chased the suspect and tried to follow the vehicle, but was shot at multiple times. No injuries were reported, and police are still searching for the suspect. Windward City Shopping Center was also the site where 77-year-old security guard Mike Chu was fatally stabbed in the early morning hours of December 6th. Stocks fell again Friday as traders worry what will be next to break. The dip came after regulators took over Silicon Valley Bank following the largest U.S. bank failure in more than a decade. The S&P 500 dropped 1.4% to cap its worst week since September. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.1%, while the Nasdaq Composite sank 1.8%. The dip came even as a highly anticipated report showed signals that pressure on inflation was cooling. According to today's jobs report, overall hiring was hotter than expected, but average hourly earnings for workers rose by less in February than economists expected. That metric is crucial to Wall Street because the Federal Reserve is focusing on wage growth in its fight against inflation. Still, investors worry that high inflation is proving difficult to tame and could force the Fed to re-accelerate its hikes to interest rates. For more on these stories and all the latest headlines, subscribe to the Honolulu Star-Advertiser. Visit Hawaii's top source for breaking news online at staradvertiser.com and download the Star-Advertiser mobile app. Mahalo, have a great day, and we'll see you right back.